Stop! Sure you want the rest of it?
Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast.
Every penny's worth.
Welcome back to Dirty Harry Minute, the only podcast in the world to review every minute of that 1971 Warner Brothers classic, Dirty Harry. I'm your host, John, and this week I am joined by three delightful guests. Number one, our first guest to have made his play into a Bollywood film, co-author of the BBC Radio 4's Empirical Evidence radio series, Anuvab Pal.
Hello.
Was that substantially correct, your CV I just introduced?
I think everything I've done in life pales in comparison to flying 10,000 miles all the way from India to sit and discuss a minute of Dirty Harry. I think...
A movie you've not seen.
A movie I have not seen in a very long time. But when else in my life will I get to analyze Dirty Harry in Australia as an Indian person?
There will be no other opportunities where we finish this series in about 3 months. Our second guest, stand-up comedian, you've heard her on The Bugle, the wonderful Tea with Alice podcast, Alice Fraser.
Hello, you've heard Anuvab on The Bugle too.
Yes.
Just me more.
Prestigious alumni.
Is it because I'm in London with Andy and he can call me at the last minute, or is it because I'm better?
Better. Geography has nothing to do with this. Skill.
Well, thank you for joining us, Alice. We have our third guest. You know her from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, Galway Comedy Festival. She shares her initials with a lovable alien, Eleanor Tiernan.
Hello, hi everyone. All achievements, but yeah, never been on The Bugle. Still gotta
Not with that
get
attitude.
the call from Andy. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, Eleanor.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad you're here because you're the first person of Irish extraction, and this is obviously Inspector Callahan. Yeah.
Indeed, yes.
Have you known any Callahans in your time?
I've known Callahans, but I've only met them in the UK. Maybe Callahan isn't the Irish name that.
Or maybe all the Callahans fled to America and the UK and Australia, and there are none left in Ireland itself.
Yeah, there's a kind of a theory in Ireland about people whose names, because Callahan is a name that there's also a version of it with an O in front of it. There's an O Callahan, and people whose surnames don't have the O in front of it, there's a kind of an old wives' tale about them. I can share it if people would like.
Please do.
Yes. Yeah, it's basically a thing that happened when the English were ruling Ireland at the time, but they offered this scheme to people who would drop the O from their name. Irish people, if you would drop the O, they would give you food.
Though they took the soup. Is that the expression?
Soup, yeah. So Callahan, to me, at first, hearing it, he does sound to me like somebody who took the soup.
I mean, old wives have the best tales.
I mean, old wives, yeah.
I think the name's derived from the Gaelic word for church or something, Callach or something.
Okay.
And obviously, Harry's an atheist, I'd say, don't you think, Alice?
I mean, he certainly behaves in an atheistic manner, amoral, some would say, but immorality doesn't seem to be inconsistent with a lot of very devout churchgoers.
Yes.
So I'm open to the possibility that he is secretly deeply religious.
There is a lot of Christ imagery in here. There's the cross. Harry's catchphrase is Jesus. And the woman at the start of the movie has a Christ-like pose when she's shot in the pool. But anyway, we're jumping ahead of ourselves. We're reviewing today minute 75. The minute continues with Scorpio limping past strip clubs and ends with the silhouetted man asking Scorpio if he has been tailed. What did you think of this minute, Anuvab?
I'm going to say that if you're going to tail a man, that's probably the man you want to tail. Yeah. He's limping in a suspicious manner across very strange parts of town. And just to go back to that, I think Hollywood screenwriters love Irish police names. Yeah. Callahan, Shaughnessy. I think these people probably have never been to Ireland, but as a screenwriting police name,
Yeah.
right? They probably won't go with like Dave or Brooklyn or something hip or.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. As a sort of a side note, Australia very famously, when we were colonised, it was military law, British rule, and then when we got our own kind of law and elected our own police force from among the people, rather than having it be the military police, Australia went within one generation from being, by definition, the most criminal country in the world, because it was a lot of convicts, to the most law-abiding country in the world in one generation. It's cool. So either the police weren't very good, or people felt like they had an investment in the new society.
When you're looking at the history of the Kelly gang and everything, it's all like Irish people shooting Irish people. Lonergan killing a Kelly, killing a Murphy. A Fitzpatrick, I suppose, is Scottish. Or I don't know if that's a Northern Irish thing.
Yeah, basically we're exporters of crime. It pretty much sounds
crime
like.
And law enforcement.
And law enforcement then as well. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you're like Coca-Cola selling Coca-Cola and Mount Franklin water. You're providing the problem and the solution
at the same time.
Locking up the market.
Yeah.
Like, do they say, like, New York City and Boston, most of the policemen are of Irish-American origin?
That's true.
But St. Patrick's Day is a big thing for at least the American police force.
It's a completely different thing to how it is in Ireland. Like, the Ireland that Americans kind of have and conjure up around St. Patrick's Day is we're quite bland compared to how as hyper as they go. Like, they dye rivers green and go all out, while Irish people tend at home tend to take it a little bit more easy.
At home.
Yeah.
Well, they also have those massive fundraisers for the boys back home who they've never met, and all this money gets funneled into the IRA and things like that.
Yeah, dark kind of. I guess there's a purpose behind the whole thing, a kind of political purpose that probably thought had gone away up until recently, but it seems to be kind of making a bit of a research. The whole 80s kind of
the 80s vibe, high tops and terrorism.
Oh man, yeah.
And also, I love the American sense of like giving some money back to home. They're not quite sure where home is.
Yeah.
So the Italian Americans sending it back to some part of Sicily or whatever. And those people are like, yeah, we'll take your money. No problem. Yeah.
Because there's good people at home they could be giving them money too. But like, if they would just check that they're not terrorists, that would be good.
Did you like Brad Pitt's accent in The Devil's Own?
I mean,
or Mick Jagger and Ned Kelly?
Yeah, I don't get too upset about these things, you know. They're not great accents, but that wouldn't be the offensive part of it for me. It's the portrayal of heroic terrorists. That would be the one I
remember after September 11th at the benefit where the Who and Paul McCartney played. There's an Irishman. He goes, "Osama bin Laden, kiss my royal Irish ass." And I was like, I don't know if that adjective "royal" fits well in your understanding of your forebears. But anyway, did you like this minute, Alice?
I thought it was super interesting. So you have the co-eds, the fully nude college co-eds, which already puts you in a period of time where borderline paedophilia is a selling point. This is a sleazy area of town, I guess.
But is it sort of quaint having the old-fashioned touts there? What do you call them? Like he's dressed up in his tie and he's...
Oh, the people come in, don't leave, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just that guy's in a suit saying, come in and see, you know.
Yeah, it is an old-fashioned attitude, I guess, to the pornographic.
There was some writing on social media about Dirty Harry's... Some misogyny in Dirty Harry. There was something going around Facebook. I can't remember.
They were protesting the premiere of this movie with Down with Dirty Pigs and...
Yeah.
Insofar as this movie is sexist, or is it more racist? I don't know what its litany of errors are.
It can be both.
It can be both.
But this minute, how is this minute sexist?
Well, got the co-eds. Well...
Fully nude co-ed
Fully nude
girls.
co-eds, yeah.
We don't see any penises in this movie. We don't see any naked men at all. We just see four naked
co-eds
women.
implies actually that they are both men and women, but actually we know for a fact that they're going to be women. And we don't know that they're co-eds. We don't know that they're really at university.
Yeah.
Unless they're just sitting there with no clothes on studying maths. Hot.
It's extremely unlikely. Yeah.
So should strip clubs possibly be
I
like
ride when I'm doing
verifying
long
the exam
division.
results that they are genuinely pursuing third level education, or these guys can't get off to it.
Oh, back to the strip club.
Ma'am, here's a differential equation.
Yeah,
Which
solve
need you-
it. Come on, before you get up on that pole.
Back to the strip club. The writers and the director like the idea of having this miscreant in the very epicenter of liberalism, San Francisco, Berkeley. This guy trying to fit in, Anyway, sorry, Navab, you're going?
No, I'm just curious. So there was always like that guy who walked around these tempting parts of town, uninterested, as if to show this kind
His
of
moral purity of purpose.
yeah, that exactly this kind of like stoicism
/ sociopathy.
slash insanity. But I had a sort of small technical question. He isn't limping in that little bit, is he?
No, because it's not. It's Dirty Harry that's walking through. It's Harry that's walking through at the beginning, and not Scorpio.
Ah, right,
Yeah.
right.
One of the problems with it only being a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, and so much darkness.
Once again, I wonder why Harry's giving up the chase. Harry's just seeing where he's going and he gives up.
But I think in terms of like filmography, this is a super interesting minute because you're cutting between quite a lot of really juxtaposed states. You cut directly from this dark night scene straight into the daytime. So
Yeah.
you assume he's been limping all night, maybe, or he's dropped in and spent the evening with the nude college co-eds. One of the two. Jump cuts forward to him limping in the daylight through this construction site. Again, there's a lot of like bright light, harsh shadows. He's limping in, and then there's the dark man watching him from the shadows, I think, who is an African American. So you have this kind of, this sense of foreboding or sinister pursuit that's happening.
Why do you think, Eleanor, that Harry sort of gives up? Shouldn't he be tailing him all night to see what nefarious deeds? But I suppose he can't. You can't watch him 24 hours.
Yeah, I think the point that I take from those first few seconds is watching Harry going through that kind of strip mall thing, and he's not remotely interested in the business, and it kind of serves to set him up as a kind of a noble person because he's oblivious. He's not
distracted by the totally nude college co-eds.
the college girls. What I like in the next frame is the way the camera just a slight shift in angle. So we see this Scorpio guy. He's coming down the steps and he's coming towards a kind of an area that's very run down. So why is he there? But then the camera just moves. It's just the slightest angle shift to reveal this other guy here, and we see him, and then suddenly we're like, okay, we've not just got the director's POV. We've got now we're watching him watching Scorpio come in, and so it's a good tension.
Yeah, and
builder.
then also in terms of the points of view, you see Scorpio limping up, and you realise that you're not seeing him through a window. You're seeing him in the reflection of a window. He's still outside the building.
Yeah. So there's a lot of kind of there's a lot being done to kind of shield whatever activity, whatever his purpose is there for. They're hiding for some reason.
Do you like Anuvab, his ridiculously short tie? It's like Paul in Yellow Submarine.
Yeah, he looks like a band member somewhere. But I you know what I love about movies like police sort of cop revenge thriller type stories from the 70s is that they depicted a kind of city that doesn't exist anymore. They're
Certainly
always
not in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, yeah.
This is exactly what I mean, is that cities are now gentrified. Like, if he had to walk past something looking disinterested and angry, there were thousands of movies in the 70s where they would walk past, shady, semi-erotic shops, tobacconists, people soliciting him for drugs or whatever. Now it would be, Disney something.
Green juice.
Yeah.
Gentrified.
Yeah.
That's the effect of gentrification.
Jamba juice, some South Indian dosa place, like some very hip thing. And also run down, parts of town where there's just wrought metal lying around.
Yeah, where you just go, oh man, what a development opportunity.
Yeah.
That would be like the headquarters of Snapchat or something.
$8 million worth of viable land that you could
Yeah.
cram people into in some sort of share space entrepreneurial workshop.
Yeah, exactly. That would be like a WeWork or something,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But then in the old movies, you'd always have like a guy walking past an oil rig, it's just lying next to some, abandoned locomotive.
Speculative oil rig that never hit oil.
Also, no security on any of these derelict properties. You can just
Nothing.
walk onto them, and health and safety nightmare.
Absolutely, and he's already
Yeah.
got a limp,
Yeah.
even just from liability purposes. They would want a
track
security
record.
guard or a CCTV camera to make sure that he didn't fake having had that injury on their land and make
Yeah.
them...
Yeah, nowadays there'd be one guy saying, "Sir, we need you to sign these forms before you can limp into this building."
Well, I have a friend who has a kid, and apparently her kid got bruised on her head, fell over, as kids do, and when she went into daycare, they made her sign a form saying the injury was pre-existing, that she had this little red bump on her head, and that happened before she came to the daycare. And I thought, that's wild.
Yeah.
Children are always flinging themselves at things.
Point of being a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They bounce.
I wonder, because there's obviously injuries people could have that don't show up, that you can't visibly see. So if somebody had, say, like a child had the measles and brought them in, would the creche then be liable for the...
Well, entirely possibly. But yeah.
There must be a business angle we can make money out of this, guys. That's where I'm going,
The other thing that interests
You're
me
the
about
problem.
is in these sorts of movies, he's clearly like done something that he's run away from, right? And there would like a whole genre of films where there's a policeman who's been indicted for something, but he's really honest, and we, the audience, know, but his higher ups don't, and some sort of treachery going on, and he has to escape from things. And there was always real estate he could go and hide in.
Yeah.
Like this piece of real
Yeah.
estate, there's just a man there who's like squatting and just kind of living in abandoned spaces was all right. Like there would always be places you could find to go.
Now you'd have to get it on Airbnb.
Yeah, to put a credit card thing and link it to your phone. Like where do you just go?
That was some comedian had a joke. The definition of gentrification is not being able to take a harmless quick piss down an alleyway because
Yeah.
it's someone's home
Yeah.
or driveway.
I have to say though, I do live in a part of the world where there are large abandoned spaces.
I mean, you need to run this jam.
Yeah.
Start lurking, Anuvab.
I think parts of Mumbai you could still shoot Dirty Harry and it still looks like this. Some expensive parts. So my neighborhood.
Have you seen The Next Minute following this, Anuvab?
I have not.
So in your heart of hearts, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, do you think he's maybe... Scorpio's looking to buy a new gun? Is he trying to score some drugs? What do you guess?
Well, he's been asked if he was tailed, and he said no.
You never ask someone if they've been tailed if you're just going to have a picnic.
A cocktail of drugs.
Exactly.
But also, what's the point in asking someone if they've been tailed? Because if they knew they'd been tailed, they'd, surely abandon
But
the plan they had.
The only response is, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not if he's no good.
Yeah.
But yeah, also there's a lot of nominative determinism in these movies. Like, how do you go about the world and say, "And I'm an upright citizen. What's your name, sir? I'm Scorpio."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No self-effacing hero came out of that period of movies. Stallone wasn't going around saying, Vietnam or Cambodia, where should I go? Like that.
Exactly.
He was just dropped in. Yeah.
Now, we don't see it as prominently as previous scene, but do you notice Eleanor is wearing that warped peace symbol on his buckle? He's got a peace sign.
I hadn't noticed that. Is it significant?
I should get the Blu-ray, shouldn't
Eleanor
I?
keeps her eyes away from that area. She's
Yeah.
a good, well brought up Irish girl.
Part of being the problem. That's
Some online conversation
Yeah.
said this is a nod to the Zodiac Killer, which this is vaguely, the whole plot's vaguely based on him. But it's also a warped peace sign, and the director said, it's a reminder that no matter how vicious a person is, when he looks in the mirror, he is still blind to what he truly is.
I love a baddie that has a reason. Other than, not just being a baddie that they
He
think
doesn't
they're
have it
doing
in this
the right
movie, does he?
thing. No, yeah.
He's like Snoke. He's just no backstory. He's just...
Yeah, I like that the director has thought of that. I don't like that the director hasn't
Followed
actually
through, yeah.
integrated that into the plot, except via sort of a arcane sideways reference belt buckle style. I always think there should be more backstory. You should always feel sad when the villain gets defeated, I think, on one level. you know, that you can see their vision even if it's been a bit twisted.
Yeah.
Particularly because through the movie, though, they do try to say that Harry and him share something in common. You know, the evil and the rage against evil. Are they the two sides of the coin? They're both equally as ruthless, but Harry apparently has a moral code of defending justice.
That's the thing, right? These protagonists that had moral codes of defending justice. I think these heroes sounded great in short pitches in Los Angeles. At some point, they're like, he comes from nowhere, he goes nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, he just comes, he's got no backstory. He just comes smoking a cigarette. He feels nothing for anyone.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a mortgage.
Yeah, and
or
then
any
anyone who is
responsibility.
watching that who has any kind of inner life is like, God, he'd be a nightmare to live with.
Yeah, just imagine. Yeah, just,
Ashing his cigarettes into your pasta. I don't care, man. I don't have any feelings.
someone who's in love with this thinking, I'm not going to call my parents over. He's going to be a nightmare at Sunday lunch. Just won't pick up or wash up. But there was a kind of heroism, like Raymond Chandler. There was a kind of like heroism with these kinds of people. You know,
Off the grid people. It was, well, I guess it was easier to get off the grid to be off the grid back then. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, simultaneously off the grid and disconnected / disaffected. And that was like a line of heroes that ran also through like the golden age of sci-fi, before women started writing sci-fi, where all the heroes were like, not to be offensive, but kind of spectrum-y. They were very much mission focused, and then women were either sort of accessories or to be discarded. Love, they never articulate love, only kind of a desire to possess and then discard. Yeah, it's a deeply pathological idea of masculinity.
Yeah.
Well, there's no women of agency in this movie. There's just his partner's wife and victims, unfortunately. We spend more time with the girl's tooth than we do actually with her. Well, that's pretty much all I've got to say about this minute, guys.
I mean, we might get back to it again later on, you know, in the second or third minute we go for it. I feel like some of the mysteries we have will be explained.
So Anuvab, you have to get your bet on the line. What's he going down to see, this mysterious African American? Is it A, drugs, B, a party, C, a new gun? Or is he a doctor maybe, fix his leg?
I want to say, like, the moment, like, there is a guy hanging out in an abandoned warehouse.
He's not a doctor.
Yeah. He's not a medically trained professional by the San Francisco Medical Authority. He's clearly got something. I want to say weapons, but whatever he's got, he's going to, like, refuel Scorpio. Like, he's
he's the pit stop.
Yeah. He's like the alternative law. He's going to fix his leg or give him a gun or a pill or something. You know, like...
a hug. He's going to give him a hug. That's what he really needs.
That's the millennial Dirty Harry. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, can I interest you guys in coming back for another minute? I'll talk to you off air, Eleanor, but many thanks for joining us.
Great.
Alice?
Yeah.
Anuvab?
Pleasure.
We'll catch you next time on Dirty Harry Minute.